right, let's start up this game. So with this video, I'm going to try to demonstrate my automation technique that I use for both my meth processing and mixing, as well as my cocaine and how it all flows and how it is seemingly automated within the actual batch level, not the entire process. So we'll go over that. So when I see a lot of videos saying, hey, I've developed this process that's completely automatic and just from start to finish, I don't find that to be true. I guess you could discuss it at two different levels. There's the level at the batch level in which you're actually making the product and then nothing else. But at the entire process level, it is not automatic because it's very similar to someone describing, say, a business that they've started that is completely passive income. This is not always true. It's very rare to get a business that is completely passive because you will always have to have some form of input, whether effort, labor, or even costs. You'll have to have some kind of input. At that point, you could say it's mostly passive, but there's still some input that is required. So when I see a lot of videos out there saying fully automated, completely automatic, I find this to be 90% true, but at some point you're still going to have to input. In my case, I have basically minimized the inputs. I have a double queue system for my supplies in which I have my deliveries show up. It's probably the most efficient way to have your supplies delivered. I have those show up. I have minimal run space from that to my shelves. I have my handlers doing most of the work, in which case I'll line these up one after another, and I'm going to demonstrate how I do that. I actually just fired all my handlers because I had the bug out issue where they were actually, I'm going to use the word stealing supplies, where the supplies would literally just disappear off the shelf. They would pick it up, and it would not be put down somewhere else. So I equated that to my employees stealing from me. You can kind of consider this like a drug business. Some people said, well, you got to beat them to get your supplies back. I didn't find that to be effective. The thing I have found to be effective is actually just firing them and rehiring. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go ahead and fire all my handlers, and I'm going to set it up so we can do this tutorial style to show my actual efficient, mostly automated workflow. All right, if anybody from the game developer is watching, can we please find a way of putting standing orders into the game? I think this would be a quality of life issue. I mean, we've already got some automated processes. Some might argue, well, this just takes away from the game. Why even play the game if you're going to just like get rid of part of it? But again, we have automated processes. This would simply be a quality of life issue. If we could just have like a reorder button or something so I don't have to go through and click all these over and over again. You could say that's lazy, but of course I'm lazy. I'm going to try to find the simplest path through. Alright, looks like it's almost 6 p.m. We're coming up on the warehouse. I'm going to hire 5 handlers. Oop, there's one of my dealers. Let me grab the cash from him. Not bad. That'll help pay for some of those. So we're going to buy some handlers for our barn. Let's talk to this guy. We're going to buy 5 total. I'm going to demonstrate how those are implemented routes and machines. That's 1, 2. All right, handlers are purchased. Let's head on back. Let's get these set up. And we'll demonstrate how we have 5 handlers, 5 routes each, so 25 total routes to demonstrate. I'm sure I'll probably mess up at some point, but we're going to talk through it and see how we can set up these routes so we can get a mostly automated meth and meth processing center along with cocaine processing for maximum profitization. Alright, we are back. Our guys should be sitting here. Here they are. Alright, so we got 5 handlers. I'm going to demonstrate our automation process, which we can automate our 3 chemistry stations A couple over here as well. We have 4 ovens. Since I find there to be a backlog, if we're looking at the ovens, I actually see multiple outputs from the chemistry station sitting there. So we're going to try to speed that up as well. So I added an extra oven because what I had was one chemist who had an extra assignment spot. So I gave him the extra oven. So hopefully that will aid in throughput. And I'm going to demonstrate our Q racks as well. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start at the very back. Actually, you can start left to right, or you can start the far back, or right to left, whichever you prefer. Let's go left to right. So we're going to start with the routes, and we'll assign beds afterward because I got plenty of beds. So first thing I'm going to do, I want to get these chemistry stations taken care of. The output's already set, but we need to stock these reagents. So what I'm going to do, he can actually reach these shelves. So I'm going to kind of jimmy it here. First one, we're going to backfill. Backfill is the concept we have to kind of embrace if we want to think of maximum utilization of reagents and supplies. So we're going to backfill. So you're going to go from rack 1 to rack 2, rack 2 to rack 3. So let's go ahead and backfill these. So it goes from the large rack 1 to rack 2 to rack 3. Rack 3 is then going to fill all of our chemistry stations. So we have our source, which would be our main rack. We're going to then fill that to each of the chemistry stations. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to go back to that same rack. That's going to be filling the other station. And the same thing. Oops, I did that wrong. Let's clear that one. See, even I make mistakes. Here we go. So we're going to go back to our rack. We filled the first one. Chemistry station 1. We're going to go over to chemistry station 2. There we go. Looks better. Back to rack. And we're going to fill our third chemistry station. What this is going to do, this is going to fill our supplies. Essentially, our phosphorus, our acid, and our pseudo. And that's going to be backfilled from each of these to the one. And then it's going to be filled from that primary to each of the chemistry stations. I find this to be most effective if you just work it from one station only. Not only do you halt, or I should say halter, or impinged upon your total fillability and just keeping your reagents up, but also you have to do it a lot more. You have to fill it a lot more just to keep it there. You can automate the process just to make it easier. So our chemistry stations are filled. Now we're going to go to our main supplies. So we're going to go to our next guy, this guy right here. Let's do some routes. So now we need to start filling our reagent, backfilling. So we have all these racks have 2 of them. We're going to go for the first one, so bananas. This is our source. We're going to fill from banana 1 to banana 2. So whenever I set the stuff there, the worker's going to automatically move it up, and then we're going to program here soon this to be filled to each station. But we're going to go from Cuke 1 to Cuke 2. They're going to just backfill this. This gives us a lot more capacity, a lot more supply capacity. We're not going to run out as quickly. And it keeps the process flowing. So we just did para 1 to para 2. We're going to do gas 1 to gas 2. We're going to keep going down the line. So we're going to do Cuke 2, 1 to Cuke 2, 2. There we go. All right, the handler's full. We're going to move on. Oh, he just got interrupted there. So we just filled him. There we go. Next one. I think we're on Cuke. So now we're going to go to batteries. Battery 1 to battery 2. Keep going down the line. We're going to do the horse 1 to horse 2. We're going to do the bean 1, bean 2. All right, now we've got the backfilling done. Now we're going to actually start filling from the primary rack to each mixing station. So same handler. We're going to keep going down the line. It's going to go bananas to 1. We're going to do Cuke to 2. All right, the handler's done. Let's move on. Here's our next one. There we go. So we just did Cuke. So now we have para. We're going to go to 3. There we go. Then we're going to get gas. We're going to go to 4. Next is Cuke 2. To the next one. Here we go. Keep going. Next we have batteries. Gonna fill it. Looks good. Horse. To horse. Looks good. That is full. All right. We're almost done with handlers. We're almost out of routes. So we got to make this very efficient. There we go. He's filled. Almost done. So last was beans. So we're going to do bean rack to bean mix. Now we've already got our output set for each. I previously set the output from each mixing station to the next one, and I set the last one over to the brick. Brick is the most efficient way to sell, especially with transportation, and since your dealers have a finite amount of spots, the brick is the most efficient currently. So what I'm going to do, let me re-click him. Okay, here we go. So we need to set this last one to have the brick press should already have an output rack, and this should already have an output rack. So what we're going to do is have a handler move our first output rack. Sorry, we have 2 output racks total. I'm going to move to the brick press. So your first output rack will be the unpackaged process. This is from your mixing station. Unpackaged, you have an unpackaged first output rack to your brick. You're going to brick it. That is going to output to your final output rack. And I like to have this close to the door. Again, you're the most important person in this universe, so your movements should be minimized. So everything should be close by the door. I can literally run in, grab my product, and get out, move on, go sell it, go give it to my dealers. So everything should be right, nice and easy. So we have our output rack. I also want to fill the packaging station if necessary. And we need to keep the packing station filled if we ever need to have that as a secondary. Also, I'm going to assign this guy to keep the flow going. So I'm going to demonstrate what we're going to do here. So in order to keep the flow going, every one of these stations is going to have a double input rack. So it's going to start, everything's going to get put to this rack here, and then it's going to be moved over to the rack here, which is where it's going to then be pushed to the first mixing station. So I'm going to go ahead and tell him to move everything from the first input rack to the second, and then the primary input rack to the first mixing station. So we're going to click that one, move it over. There we go. And I think there's one more move. I'm not thinking of what it needs to be right now, but I'm sure I will. So let's go ahead and get these guys paid and see how this works. And I like to keep 3 days worth of pay in there. I know some people that only do a day or 2. I like to keep 3 just to minimize, again, my input into the process. So 3 days. There we go. Whatever that number is at the top, you need to multiply that by 3, and there's your 3rd day pay. Again, this is just going to keep things flowing. There's nothing worse than coming back to your factory and production's been halted because of one worker, one handler, one anything basically didn't want to do his job or just wasn't paid to do his job. So we got that all paid. Let's go ahead and assign them a bed. And I need to assign one of them to the station. So we're going to assign beds. There's bed 1. Looks good. Actually, after assigning these beds, they're probably going to start moving. Or it's too late. All right, so bed. There we go. Yeah, they're definitely not going to move now because it's after 4 a.m. But this is actually when you get a lot of stuff done because you don't have to worry about anything happening, really. All right, the rest of the beds are upstairs. There we go. And again, I need to assign one worker to the brick press. All right, one more bed to assign. We are off and running. I'm going to sleep, and we're going to put these guys to work and see how it goes. Oops, I don't want to do that. All right, beds are assigned. Let's give one of them a brick press. Let's sleep and let's see how this goes. I'm going to demonstrate the process with backfilling because I think that's a very important concept. So let's just give a random guy. Okay, he's already moving to the brick press. So we're actually going to put him to the brick press. And we're going to watch the flow from start to finish to see how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and sleep. Let's reset everything. Let's see how this works. Oh, good earnings for the day. Very nice. All right, so let's see what happens here. There goes the workers. Very good. They're going to start backfilling, hopefully. All right, so he's taking the cuke, sorry. He's going to move it to the first rack. There we go. So he should be backfilling. This is going to increase our total capacity. There we go. See it? Now it's moving from the back to the front. There we go. Should be backfilling those batteries and the beans. Let's watch him do this. Yep, he just backfilled the batteries. There it goes. Looks good. He should be taking the beans. Nope. He was moving the horse. There we go. Nice and backfilled. Okay, beans to front rack. Perfect. This is going to increase our total capacity that we can step away from. Very good. Very good. They're backfilling just fine. Now they should be... The next guy's going to come in and fill these to each station, which I think most stations are already full. There you go. He moved the batteries too. Chemists are already assigned. I can show how we can assign those as well, but that's pretty standard. All right, looks good. And if you're here and you just see everything ready to go, they actually need to move the outputs. I don't want to do it for them, but I want them to demonstrate how this works. So we also have one guy that should fill from there. Once this is empty, he should fill from the primary input to the first mixing station. So it's looking pretty good so far. They're moving everything around. Looks great. I'm going to go ahead and order a delivery so we can get this out of the way. And I'm going to demonstrate what happens when it gets here. There goes my guy just shoved me around. They don't care. Oh, delivery's already in progress. Oh, I think it's here. My bad. All right, so let's go fill, and we'll watch him backfill. So I'm going to grab my stuff. I'm going to try to keep it in order. There we go. Fill our cuke. Now I do a ratio of 2 to 1 when it comes to cuke because I find that to be necessary, obviously. So we're going to fill everything, and it will backfill. Again, capacity is the key here. And again, my time is the most valuable here. So I want to minimize my run space by having everything right by the door. You could argue, well, these are a couple steps in the door. Why not just bring it forward? But I do find pathing issues exist if you have things too tight. Maybe that's just me. I was having my chemistry stations and my ovens packed very closely together, and I would find my employees would often get kind of snagged or bugged and kind of caught in places. So I like to keep a little bit of spacing, at least probably two spaces I find to be optional, even necessary. I said optional, I meant optimal. So we're backfilling. There we go. Keep stocking everything. And if you want to keep this with my level of output that I have set up for, if you want to keep everything going, basically as soon as you are done filling, you have to go in back into your delivery, order the next batch. So I do, actually what will fit is 40 of each except for 80 of the cuke. And you can see what I'm ordering here. This gives very good product. And I obviously they're all delivered to the barn. One to loading dock 1 and other to loading dock 2 will place. As soon as one delivery is done, you have to basically just keep the next one going. And this is for a very high output. And this is for making bricks. So one is for meth. It sells for around, I want to say, $460 to $500. And the other one is for cocaine. I take the highest grade cocaine. I'm not sure why there's a purple there, unless one got pulled from the drying rack early. I take the highest grain of cocaine, and I mix it through. And I actually might switch one of these for the cocaine. I think we use motor oil instead of bananas. The price is pretty close. I'm sure it's probably a very small deviation of $10 to $20. But with this current mix, I think I'm usually expecting between about $960 to maybe $1,050, so $1050 on the cocaine mix. So very profitable, have a very efficient flow, and I'm also going to demonstrate my cocaine factory here in a minute. So everything's working great. Starts from this rack, moves down the line. The chemists keep pushing it down the line. We're constantly mixing, and it's just working right down. It's going to go all the way to the final mixing station, get put on a Q rack, and then to the brick. You might ask, why not just go straight from the final to the brick? But I like to keep a small amount, again, of capacity there. You can argue it's not necessary, but I do like to have that capacity so that way you're not getting caught up on stuff. So he just took it from there, and he's going to move it to the brick press. He's going to press it, and then it's going to go to the output rack, and I'm going to grab it here in a minute and take my dealers. This is about as efficient as I can get. Again, you can argue, hey, why not just go straight from mix to brick? What if that guy's busy? What if it goes straight from mix to brick and he gets caught up doing something else? And again, we only have a limited amount of route spots to work with, so we want to keep it with a little bit of capacity and queue. You actually want to give it a little bit of queue strength, so that way you can queue up multiple batches for brick. Again, if the guy's busy. Maybe I'm overthinking this. I don't know. There we go. You just put down a brick of meth. That's going to sell for a lot of money. So very efficient output. Nice right down the line. Minimal movements on my part, which I like. Let's go over to, oh, I'm going to save it real quick. That's a good tip too, whenever you are wanting to leave. If it's gotten through a lot of progress, you may need big changes, just do a quick save. Nothing like losing your progress because you forgot to save. I've actually left the barn before with a bunch of drugs, ton of drugs. It was awful. Probably 40, 50 grand worth of drugs. I got to the middle of town. My girlfriend sent me a text. I stopped to check my text, and the cops got me and busted all my stuff. It was awful. Let's grab a dealer while she's here. Looks good. Also, with your dealers, two things. I let them go multiple days. Unless you need the cash right then and now. I obviously have a good amount of cash. But unless you need the cash right then and now, give your dealers a couple days so as to basically accumulate that cash. And then you can take it. Look at this. Like, oh, this cocaine, nice and processed. This is fully automated at the batch level. So I'm going to demonstrate what happens here. I need to hire a cleaner, obviously, but it doesn't obstruct the path. It's purely cosmetic at this point. I think at some point maybe it will start to cause issues, but right now, no cleaner, so I'm just going to work with it. I have 16 different pots where I'm growing the cocaine plants. These go to, let's see, 12 different drying racks. I could probably get a few more. I just have to hire a different, I think I have to hire another botanist at that point. So they will go straight from that to, some of them I double up when it comes to drying racks. I have a botanist that's taking care of these. They are going to the highest quality as far as the drying leaves, so I let those get to a very high quality as far as the gold. They go from the drying rack, and I actually do the same thing as I do over at the other at the barn, at the other factory. I have them put into a queue just in case he has multiples. So they come from the drying racks. All of them will output to this rack. He's going to set them there. There they go. And then I have a handler who's going to come up, deliver those from that to the next rack. This is in case I have multiple capacity. So here he goes. I've programmed him. He's going to come up. He's going to grab it. He's going to move it over to this next rack. That way, stuff isn't getting backed up. I absolutely try to avoid bottlenecks. Bottlenecks is the absolute detriment to progress and keeping things pushing forward. So they're going to grab it off that shelf. And he's going to put it to a cauldron. I have it output the different cauldrons. There we go. So he put it in that cauldron. The chemist should come up after it fills, and he's going to cook it. I also have multiple automations set up for filling the supplies for the botanists. So the botanists are going to take this as the primary rack. But I also have a handler with a route to fill from rack 1 to rack 2. He's going to go from rack 2 to rack 3. This is going to backfill. This is going to minimize my input to the process. They're going to all the botanists that are working on the pots are going to take their supplies from this primary rack. And again, I filled this one. The handlers come by, backfill everything. Much larger capacity. It does take a routing spot, but totally worth if you have the money to buy more handlers and you have the capacity for handlers. So there they go. They're working, looking good. We got plenty of output. You know what? They're not working right now, so happens commonly. I'm going to make sure they're paid. There they go. That's why. I haven't paid them in a couple days, so let me keep that flowing. Nothing like stopping the flow because they're unpaid, so I try to avoid that. Let me pay everybody else while I'm here. We're going to do at least 3 days plus pay. Yeah, went a little over. That's all right. Oh, that's why he's not working either. So let's get him another few days of pay. Looks good. Same for that one. When you get to a point in the game where you have plenty of cash, you can even go crazy and just start filling up each spot. I don't necessarily know if I want to do that at this point. I probably could. But at this point, I'm just going to keep it at 3 days pay. And it's actually 4 days if you think about it, because they have current day's pay plus they have the rest. It's actually 4 days. So I've also automated a capacity queue on this one as well. So because I have a full rack here, they have an output. The chemist is going to take the output from that. And I have a double capacity. So I have a handler. Everything gets filled to this rack here. A handler comes by, moves it over to this one. So now I have double the capacity for output. You could just say, well, grab it off there quicker, but sometimes I don't make it over here fast enough. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all this out, and they're just going to keep moving everything along. So that way you never want to have bottlenecks. You just keep output. Oh, here he goes. He's dropping stuff off. There he goes, drops it. And, oh, I need more gasoline. There we go. That's the problem. I have a double queue for gasoline as well. So I fill the gasoline to this one. Handler moves it over to 2. And I can that way I can have double the capacity and less minimal inputs on my part. So I'm going to go ahead and run this cocaine over to my other factory. There's the cops there. I got to avoid them, obviously. Another tip, if you ever get stopped by the cops, just run. Just go. Try to avoid the cops if you can, but if you ever get stopped, just run. You're way faster than them. You can hide in a dumpster to get away from them. Otherwise, try to go to your properties, get inside your property. Just stand there for about 30 seconds. They'll go away. So we're going back. We're going to process this cocaine, and I like to actually prioritize cocaine because it sells for about twice as much as what the meth does. The meth is much more consistent. I make it all on site. My deliveries are here. Great. Oh, perfect. I need a backfill. All right, so this I've been filling myself. That's perfect. I'm going to go ahead and just put all that there. I'm going to go ahead and fill again, and then we're going to watch my handlers backfill. So we can get plenty of capacity. That's the name of the game, is capacity. Capacity, capacity. Minimization of input. There we go. Someone would be like, well, why are you even playing the game? It's like, we're still playing the game. We're just minimizing the amount of work done. Some say work smart, not hard. I prefer not to work at all. But if you have to work, just make it easier on yourself. There we go. Filled. Looking good. We're going to fill this up. No pun intended with the horse semen. Keep going. And we're going to watch my handlers come into action. And they're going to backfill everything once they're free. And I'll demonstrate that. Kind of went out of order there. Not usually one for doing stuff in order, I'll say that. God, I love how your workers just shove you around. Just get out of my way. But they're doing the work. I'm not. All right, almost there. Fill the gasoline. And, oh, there they go. They're backfilling. Always running low on para for some reason. All right, backfilled. Looks good. He's backfilling the beans. Look at that. Oh. Nice and filled. Oh, he's going to move it forward. There we go. Very good. All right, so we'll keep going down the line. Everything's looking good. This rack is primarily filled, and they're starting to make more meth. So the meth is getting supplemented with the cocaine. So it looks good. Lots of output here. Perfect. And something else, if you do want to input, you can actually move some stuff. Let me see what I've assigned to this. Okay, that guy's assigned to it. One of the chemists, he is busy. That's kind of an overflow work. So what I'm going to do, since these are getting backed up, I'm actually going to move a couple of these over to this oven. And when he's free, he will move and do that. You can kind of also, not that you're doing the work, but you are distributing some of the work more evenly. So there's like 8 of them there. I'm going to move that around a little bit. There's 4 there. There's a bunch there. I'm going to grab a couple off here. I'm going to move in the side oven. Keep this guy working. There he is. See, look, he came right over, started working it. So distribute the work as you feel necessary. There we go. I also need to order more. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate this too. So let me order more of the phosphorus and acid. I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to order a bunch. I'm going to demonstrate how that backfills. Again, backfilling is so important. So we're going to place that order. It'll probably show up after our other deliveries. So looks good. Everything's backflowed. All our primary racks are nice and full. They're going to keep flow going. So last I checked, there's 2 bricks. Oh, look, now there's 3 more. 3 more of the high quality meth. That's going to sell for a lot of money. That's probably, let's see here, doing the math, 450 times 12 minus dealer cut. It's probably about $9,000 per brick. Pretty good. And they sell a decent amount of that. Let me check my dealers. So one dealer has $11,000. One has about 4.5, 4, almost 6.5, and $7,000. So I'm gonna let that pile up a bit more. You can let it pile up a lot before you go and do it. Another tip I like to do, it's dangerous, it's risky to a degree. I like to wait until 4 a.m. That way I know all my dealers are gonna be at home. So that way I can also, if you want to, you can grab all your bricks, take them out, distribute them then. You know your dealer's gonna be home, take your cash. If you want a very set schedule and you just want to kind of your own little process, you can also start laundering at that hour at 4 a.m. Another cool trick If you want to do deliveries, again, it's higher risk because the cops are out looking for you. And I've run into some hairy situations where the cops are right by the guy I'm dealing to. But if you deal after curfew, you do get a curfew bonus. I believe it's around 20%. You get a curfew bonus for delivering between 12 and 6 a.m. And another little trick, if you deliver at between midnight and 6 a.m., there's no expiration. So if you pile up a bunch of deliveries, they will never expire because you never get to 6 a.m. You have to sleep. So a little trick, you can just keep it going, make all your deliveries, get a little bonus, a little bit extra risk with the cops, but it's worth it. Let me go ahead and do another delivery with all my supplies. I'm going to keep this going. And actually, at some point, I'm going to switch to motor oil because I need to see the cost difference. So we're going to order our stuff. I really wish this game had a reorder feature or some kind of standing order feature. That'd make it so much easier. Just hit reorder. It's already set. There we go. I'm going to keep doing it. 40, 40, 80, 40, 40, 40, and 40. Let's place it, and it should show up. Looking good. Either way, that's my flow. That's how everything goes. Your input is really just reagent or supply maintenance. If you have to work, you should work hard. If you don't want to work hard, work smart. If you really don't want to work smart, then just minimize how much work you actually have to do. Because I'm pretty lazy. I'm self-prescribed as lazy. I'm good with that. So do as little work as possible. Maximum profit. Let's see what my brick output is. Looks good. Now I got 2 high quality cocaine. These sell for about $9.50 plus. I think I've sold at a maximum of about $1,050. So $10.50 per. And there's a lot in there. So that's a lot of money I'm making off of each. And I just cranked that out while you were watching. I just cranked out 3 more bricks of high quality meth, 2 bricks of cocaine, all in that time span. And you can keep this going with all these reagents. I already have another delivery on the way. It's currently, it's got about 5 minutes. So keep the stuff flowing, keep it going, minimize your inputs, keep your beds filled with money, and I've already got a delivery on the way. I might have to go grab some more pseudo, and I need to grab some more coca seeds here soon. But that's your job, is just to keep reagents and supplies flowing. Leave any comments down below on your thoughts on this, if we can make it more efficient. Again, I just wanted to minimize runtime from door to van to door. That's my entire process, is just efficient, near full automation at the batch level. Oh, they just dropped another one. There we go. Tons of money right there. I think there's, 20 in there? So 20 times almost 1,000 minus dealer cut. It's like 17 to 18 grand per. So they're just dropping money on the shelf. It does take time to sell, but it just keeps piling up, and it's very efficient. The profit margin with mixing is the highest with a very, very complex mixture. I think at 8 is probably about as high as it gets. I don't really know if it gets any higher than that or if it matters after that, but this is a very efficient process. Keep you guys paid, keep your reagents full. That's your job, and you'll make a ton of money in this game. All right, let me know what you think. Thanks all.